Hello, Stuart. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you here.
Hey,
I have a lot
nice
of
to see
questions for you.
you.
We are already live. There are already people here.
Nice.
Hello, let's go. People are already asking questions. So I I love your job. I think people already love you in the way that you communicate with the LTD community, and everybody. AI copywriting is trending, and everybody's trying to cope with it and trying to understand how to add it in the workflow. And you
Mm.
are one of the guys that people like most. And it was one of the persons that started the whole story. So I would like to
Mm.
know a little bit more about who is Stuart, why you like the AI copywriting field, if you started to work with that because of passion, training. So I want just to hear a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so I've been living out in Thailand in Southeast Asia for about 8, 9 years now. And what first sort of brought me out here was I was doing a round the world cycle trip and I kept on crashing. So I had a friend over here and he was getting a new bike sent to him from one of my sponsors. And whilst waiting for that bike, it ended up taking 2 months. And we started to talk more and more about business, ended up getting into sort of automation, consulting type roles. And we ended up actually starting a company together to help other people automate their businesses. So my background is very much in, solving business processes and helping people make their business as efficient as it can be. And after doing that, I got involved in sort of vacation rentals and helping a lot of the hotels and resorts in Thailand and across Southeast Asia um, sell more rooms to tourists through Airbnb and other sites. So very early on in the Airbnb journey, we sort of capitalized on that and had a lot of properties and we're dealing with lots of bookings and complaints and messages and all of the nonsense that goes along with that. And if we fast forward to sort of when these AI tools became a bit more mainstream,
Mm.
um, we saw sort of major breakthroughs really OpenAI releasing GPT-3. And as soon as I sort of saw a demo of this, I thought, oh, this is going to be great. If I can implement this into vacation rentals to handle the guest communication, reviews, instructions, dealing with owners, sending all the information across, then it will be able to solve a lot of problems. So my initial sort of angle for getting involved in AI was to do that and just use it like any other tool that I use to help automate and make my business more efficient. But then March 2020 happened. We had the pandemic confirmed, all the borders shut in Southeast Asia. And I was sitting on my thumbs for a business that I've been working on for 5, 6 years, literally just went to zero overnight. So that was super tough to deal with. And I was figuring out what I wanted to do. Took a bit of time, a bit of a step back to really sort of evaluate what was going on. It's very difficult to sort of, when you've been working on a project for that long, to completely abandon it and go to something else. But I needed something to, I needed to experiment, test myself, and learn new things. And AI was really that outlet. And I looked about what other people were doing it. I saw a couple of the earlier sort of writing assistant tools. And I thought, hey, it would be fun if I learned how to build one, because I come from a background of no code. So I don't code, but I'm very good at mashing different technologies together
Mm.
and putting things together. So I thought, if I can build a writing assistant in the sort of image for someone like me who likes mashing things together, we'll put like webhooks and automation and integration at the heart of it, then that could be something really quite powerful. So that was initially how the idea and the concept of Content Villain sort of came about and how I got involved in the industry. So it's not really riding the trend or really a deep held passion for years and years. It just sort of happened and was a result of what happened with the pandemic more than anything.
The pandemic was a roller coaster for all of us. I
Oh
think
yeah,
yeah.
It's insane to think of one single event that has impacted so much of humanity in like every way. You know, you can think of, you know, I've got friends in Nepal and it's impacted them and they live such a different life to me, and it's mad. But looks like we're coming out the other side of it, which is great for everyone, and hopefully we can get back to more fun times, a bit of
Of
travel, and
course. Uh-huh.
enjoy things.
I hope so. My next question is related to the Frank question as well. I I I'm going to ask you what's the real state of art of the AI copywriting environment, and because sometimes we just uh, we are dealing with many different tools that is coming out with different names, and we can't know the difference between them. And also, Frank is asking about that, and also what's the next breakthrough, uh, and how Riku can help with that. There are many people asking about Riku here.
Yeah, because obviously the Riku Deal is live, so I appreciate that people do want information on that. So I will try and answer that. But it's probably worth going back to where we are and how things have developed, and sort of giving a bit of an overview of where we are with AI and sort of how fast and rapid pace this is going, because it's really incredible. And it's about a year since the Content Villain launch. So to think in that time, there's been so many incredible advances. A year ago, you had OpenAI and GPT-3, and that was pretty much the only technology available. That led to some conflict and made things a bit hard for a lot of the writing assistant tools coming out, because a few of these tools had legacy approval for certain features, and OpenAI was simply not approving those features for new tools, which led to certain monopolies. And some tools had an advantage in that way, and there was nothing really we could do. It's completely unfair. But luckily, since that time, OpenAI are no longer the only player. There are multiple large language models available. They all provide something different, and a lot of people get confused and think one language tool is one language model is infinitely better than another one, where it's not really the case. And that's what we try and show with what we're doing with Riku now, is they all have their own personality and their own quirks, and you often find by experimenting and playing with different ones, you can get slightly different outputs, and by doing that, you can see which one is going to work best for your business. So from going from one large language model to where we are now with multiple large language models, the future is incredibly bright, because there's so many smart people working in this field. And a lot of people get confused and sort of think the next big advancement is going to be GPT-4, and that gets banded about quite a lot. But in my view, it's not going to be like a massive breakthrough like that. It's just going to be incremental sort of improvements to existing models. You'll see that already with OpenAI just bringing out a new Da Vinci model, and they brought out new edit and insert models just this month. So they're really working on optimizing and improving the models that they already have and making them more efficient and better for the end user. So that's really incredible. But a lot of the models at the moment have a few weaknesses. One weakness is primarily they're all English. So if you're trying to create content in a different language, you're not going to have the success that you might want, because it doesn't know French or German or Spanish or Italian to a high level. Fortunately, there are some new models coming out. There's a couple launching April the 6th, I think, which we're going to be playing with within Riku, which will give Spanish, Italian, German and French native language models, which nobody else offers. All of the writing assistants which say that they are multi-language, they're either using Google Translate or they're using DeepL. So
Uh-huh.
it's actually just another layer on top of the writing assistant itself.
Uh-huh.
So it's going to be fun for people to be able to play with that. And the second weakness that I want to go over with the current sort of crop of large language models is they're all trained to a certain date. So if you ask it anything past that date, it won't know the answer and it will give you false information. So, for example, if you follow football and a footballer has moved clubs, and you say, who does Cristiano Ronaldo play for? Some of the models might say Real Madrid because he used to play there, but the real answer is Manchester United now. So that is one of the big problems, getting factual information if it's past the cutoff date. But there are models models out there which aren't really commercially available just yet, which have the ability to search the internet and get answers like that. So that will solve that problem, and that makes a whole new level of sort of really powerful stuff. So the future is incredibly bright. There's a lot of exciting things happening, and everything is advancing really rapidly. And what we're trying to do, one with Riku, is to put all of the latest and greatest large language models in one place and empower pretty much anyone to learn and play and build with them. So it's super exciting times.
Yeah, I think Rico is about opening the playground and let you train the AI the way you want, isn't it?
Yeah.
The main difference.
Yeah, like there's a place in the world for these writing assistant tools. That's why we created Content Villain, and we're still going to work on Content Villain, improving the models, improving the UX, making everything better, and moving everything with the times, evolving the technology on that. But one of the main sort of disadvantages of using a writing assistant tool is you're going to get a generic output, because by design, a writing assistant tool is training the prompts for the AI to be generic. Because if I'm coming to it with a business based in travel, then I'm going to have a bad experience if I don't get a good output based on travel. So in my mind, if I'm building that model for a blog introduction, I might put in an example of a travel business. I might put in an example of a SaaS business. I might put in an example of an e-commerce business, but I'm not going deep in any of these areas. I'm putting in very varied examples to be able to cater to a wide array of different businesses. So whoever goes to use it, whoever is the user coming to the writing assistant, is going to get an output. They're going to look at that output and go, yeah, it's fairly relevant, but it's not super specific. It's pretty generic. And I think we've all had that experience with writing assistant tools. Whereas if I go to a place like Riku and I start to build out a prompt for myself, and I have a dropshipping business, I can put one example on dropshipping, second example on dropshipping, third example on dropshipping, as many as I want within the prompt. And then I hit generate when I actually want it to give me the output. I'm going to get something super relevant to dropshipping, because all of the examples are down to dropshipping. And this is just something that it's incomparable. You're going to get something infinitely better by doing this than you can with a writing assistant. So that is really the power. And I think that's really the future of where this is going to go. And you sort of see that now with a lot of these writing assistant tools introducing recipes, frameworks, templates, whatever you want to call them. But still, you're getting gate-kept, because you don't get to see what model you're using. You don't get to modify the settings. Often it's very basic. Provide one example.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not getting the true experience, and you're not getting it as powerful as you can be. And you can only get that by playing and sort of using the raw AI.
So got it. So the main difference of Rico is that opening playground, the way that Rico allows the user to be specific and train
Yeah.
the recipes to work in their advantage.
Yeah, it's like I often get asked what's the difference between Content Villain and Riku, and it's a very valid question. And Content Villain is more of a front end. It's a plug and play sort of service. You log in, you see what's available, you enter your details, you get your output. There's no learning curve. It's very simple to use. You have the nice text editor. You have everything easy going. Create a blog in one click. Everything is done for you. And you choose the tools that you want to use, and you create the content you want. Whereas Riku is really about empowering you to get everything that you need to be able to build your own content villain, or build your own writing assistant, or build your own tool. So we're introducing you to the back end, all of the processes, all of the logic, all of the best sort of the best formalities for building and for actually creating stuff. And with that, Riku is like the back end and the engine room of what we want to do with AI. And we're hoping that Riku will be the AI engine for thousands and thousands of businesses. Whereas Content Villain is a front end, you come quickly, you do what you want. If you haven't got time, or you have no interest of actually learning AI, then you can just go and use that. But if you have got interest in learning and sort of leveling up your skills, which I think is worth doing, because I think AI is only going to get more and more powerful, and it's going to be with every business. So, getting in at this early stage and understanding the basics is an investment that you'd probably make for yourself.
Of course. So the AI tools, they differentiate themselves in the way that the team train the technology, isn't it? The way that that's a simple way to speak about the issue, that with
Yeah,
the
there's certain ways that you can train a prompt, really. So
Mhm,
there's certain ways that a company should be creating their models when they are creating like a writing assistant tool. The first way is just prompt engineering. So you're writing an instruction to the AI. You're saying, write me a blog introduction, make it exciting, make it powerful, make it so people want to read the text and continue reading the text. And then you give an example. You might give 2 examples. You might give 3 examples. Generally, the more examples you give, the better the output's going to be. But the more examples you give, also the more tokens you're using, and the higher the cost of the model. So
mhm,
if you want to save costs, you might only give 1 example. Your output might be could be pretty, but it's cheap for you to run. So you can say, hey, I've got this, it's unlimited, but it's cheaper to run. So it's about finding that balance, right, between putting the amount of examples in and getting the output out. But prompt engineering isn't the only way to go. There is another way to go, which is fine tuning, where you actually get a really solid data set of, a data set for fine tuning. You could use hundreds or thousands of examples, and you formulate it in a certain way, and you have to sort of upload the file, and you're actually getting like a fine-tuned model, which is very specific for what you want it to do. The problems with fine-tuning is it's a bit more complicated to understand. It's harder to do, and it's a real pain to try and get all the data together to create that data set. And a lot of people don't have the patience to do that. So
mhm,
there are ways to do it, but a lot of people don't. So the most easy way and the quickest way to market is just to create prompt engineering. So you're just building out the prompts, and then you're hooking it up. So when somebody clicks a button, they're getting a blog introduction, or they click another button, they're getting a Facebook ad or whatever. So it's that. And if we bring it back to, I guess, the question on differentiating quality, you can do prompt engineering and fine tuning for multiple large language models. There's also sort of different sized language models within this. Somebody could say, oh, we're using OpenAI. Somebody else could say, oh, we're using AI 21. But there's multiple models within these technologies. So, DaVinci is the most powerful OpenAI model by far. They've got Curie, which is the second most powerful. And it gets complicated, because you could say, somebody could say, oh, we're using DaVinci, and then they're using one example in their prompt. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
somebody could say, oh, we're using Curie, but we've got 10 examples in our prompt. So
Uh-huh.
it's not as black and white and saying one model is better than another, because you don't know what the prompt is like, you don't know what the training is like, and you don't know what the settings are like. So it's very hard to tell unless you try the different tools and the different writing assistants and actually see what the outputs are like and see what you get on with as a consumer.
So it's all about testing the output, and if you get sometimes quality outputs, it's because the tool is well trained. I say
Yeah, I
for someone who is not savvy, and he needs to know if the AI tool, copywriting tool, is good or not. So they will try the outputs and see if they got something in depth, something that's not, generic.
yeah. Yeah, I'd always recommend trying out the tool and seeing how the output is and seeing if it is good or not. And I'd recommend sort of hitting generate maybe 5 to 10 times to give it a fair chance to give you a decent output. Because even the most well-trained tool, you can hit generate sometimes and get a really bum output. So
Mhm.
it's worth hitting generate a few times to then get an average of whatever it gives you to determine whether it's something you can use or not. If it is, then great. If it's not, then try another tool. It's not like there isn't on the market.
Mhm. So that user is asking about the future plans for Rico. I would ask for content villain as well. What are the future plans? How are will they develop? If you have something on the roadmap that you can tell us. Everybody's
Mhm.
excited, and I'm gonna say, people, you have 1 day to get Rico at that price. So it's the time.
Yes.
Friendly reminder
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Yeah. So with Riku, what we're working on at the moment, we have a version 2 coming. So it's going to improve the interface quite dramatically. It's going to make it look a bit more professional, and everything is just going to be a lot cleaner to use. As well as that, we are working on creating like a white label chatbot function. So you can actually create your AI prompts and turn them into chatbots, which you can embed on your own site, run on your own site, run on Riku. We're also working on a way for you to create public share links, so when you've created your AI prompts, you can determine how many sort of runs you want to enable it for. So you could say, oh, I've created this press release model. I want to make a public link with 100 executions. Then you'll get a link you can share with whoever you want. And when it has the 100 executions, it will no longer work. So it's a way for you to share with clients and get something that they can use as well. And we're working on ways that you can sort of brand that yourself as well. Maybe add your own logo, remove the Riku logo. So there's quite a lot of fun things coming, as well as the multi-language models. April the 6th, Spanish, German, French, Italian. Um, it's going to be the first time that anyone really has the chance to play with models in their own language if you are one of those language speakers. So that's going to be really incredible. There's also more some interesting developments with other models, adding settings such as you can bias certain words. So if you're thinking about creating prompts for SEO purposes, then you'll be able to bias keywords and have them effectively appear within the content every single time. Because at the moment, with a lot of the AI writing tools where you can put keywords, it's hit or miss whether they actually appear. Yeah, there's no
Mhm.
actual way to sort of 100% guarantee it, but by doing this new model with the word biases, you can do that. So that is pretty game changer in that regard. And so that's really what's on the immediate sort of roadmap for Riku. I guess if you wanted to check it out in more detail, we have the public roadmap, which is at feedback.riku.ai. So you can check that out. We keep that quite up to date with what's going on. And there is a lot going on. And then in terms of what we have coming with Content Villain, we're tidying up a lot. We're tidying up a lot of the back end and the UX to make it a bit cleaner to use. We're introducing a lot more better documentation on getting the most of the tool. We're also working on a lot of different fine-tuned models, because we started off with the prompt engineering like most writing tools will, and over time we've been sort of creating our own data sets and putting, optimizing what we have and making it better and better. And we have an integration between Riku and Content Villain, which lets me build stuff in Riku and send it to Content Villain with one click, which means I can add models a lot quicker than before. So a lot of this new stuff that we have coming within Riku with the new models, I will be pushing stuff across to Content Villain, so everyone benefits from both tools. And I think a lot of the Content Villain users will be quite happy with what we have coming with regards to our plans for some of the models we're building out with these word biases and keywords and all of that. So it's pretty exciting times. We're pretty busy, but it's great fun.
Cool. And is there a way to train the model for a specific field? I'm asking that because I just tried to use the AI copywriting to help me to write a blog post about Facebook Reels, and even like Facebook Reels monetization, and it's something pretty new, and I wasn't get any output that I could use for Facebook Reels, and I realized that maybe not. It's because it's too new. And so Facebook
Yeah.
Reels is coming this year, came this year, and in that situation or any situation that the AI does not have the clear data about the issue, like technical fields, etc., can one use the prompt, use Riku
Yeah.
to train the dictionary that the tool would use to to get a specific output about those kind of topics that are too new or too technical for a generic AI copywriting approach?
Yeah, it's a great question, and definitely something that you can help to reinforce, and you can plant ideas within the prompt. So a good example of this is something I was looking at the other day. Is if I'm trying to create like a biography for myself, I can put in the prompt, Stuart Lansdale is, and then if I hit generate, I get complete nonsense out. I think it said I was an actor on the BBC and all of this crazy stuff. And because obviously it has no idea who I am, because I'm just a guy living out in Thailand, so it wouldn't know who I am. But what I could do is I could write within the prompt. I could say, create a professional biography for Stuart Lansdale, who is an entrepreneur based out in Bangkok, who used to run a vacation rental business, then got involved in AI, blah, 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 blah. So I'm giving it the information within the prompt to help it then craft out a professional biography based on that. And by doing that, you're teaching it things that it doesn't necessarily know, but by putting it in the prompt, it can grasp those ideas and those concepts and build on it and create something better from it. So yes, it's definitely possible, and that's really the way to go if you're trying to reinforce like a niche area or a niche idea.
Cool, awesome. And Fresh Potion made some questions here. Welcome, Fresh. Is there a way to reverse engineer some of our favorite prompts from other AI tools in Riku?
Yeah, this is making me laugh, because I was literally, before this started, I was just uploading a video to YouTube, and it's just finished uploading. So check it out if you want on the Riku channel. We have done the first in a series where we reverse engineered a blog introduction model from Jasper, and you can see the results. It's super simple, super easy to do, and we recommend, if you have your favorite prompts in other tools and you want to build out your own versions of them, you can do that in Riku very simply. You can literally go to that tool, hit generate a few times, copy in the input, copy in the output, do that 3 or 4 times, and then give it the instruction at the top. You have the full thing ready to go, and you can set the settings and the temperature and all of the other settings even better than that technology has it. So if you like one of the tools that you find in another writing assistant and you want to build your own version, super possible to do it. And you can upgrade the length. If you're like, I like this tool, but the lengths are a bit short, then you can crank that up in Riku. You have the full control, and you're going to get something infinitely better, and you're not paying a monthly subscription. So happy days all around.
Awesome. Awesome. And now the $1 million question here. Are you planning to do a type of deal for Riku buyers to get a special deal on Content Villain? So an internal LTD, maybe, I don't know.
It's not something that we've really considered at this point. It's something that we might consider in the future, but it's incredibly it's quite full on, sort of doing a launch for one tool. So it wouldn't be at the same time that the Riku deal is live. That's for sure, because it's it's incredibly full on dealing with support and trying to promote the one tool, and we're doing a lot of work on the back end trying to improve both of them, obviously at the same time. And really our marketing focus is really on Riku at the moment. And we see that sort of it'll come back around to sort of equilibrium, I'd say. But obviously, whilst this deal is live, we're going to be focusing on promoting Riku more than Content Villain at the moment.
And so it's possible, but not at the moment.
It's maybe for the future.
Yeah, for people that want to learn more about the AI copywriting tool, and I do agree that Riku is the best option for that, to actually learn the tool. They will find the tutorials in your channel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we have a Riku AI YouTube channel where we are producing content fairly regularly to help people get to grips with AI, because we're not going to lie and say that there's no learning curve with Riku. There definitely is, and if you open it up for the first time and you go in and you expect to get amazing stuff done right away, you're probably going to be disappointed. It's probably take you about 30 minutes of actually being engaged and watching some of our videos to start to get the grasp of the basics, and from that point you should be able to build anything that you want. So it's incredibly powerful if you put that first 30 minutes or 1 hour of time aside to start learning and start understanding what is possible with these tools. And the videos that we have on YouTube are one way to do that. Within the app itself, we're building more and more sort of interactive user flows so people can do that directly from the app. And we also have quite a supportive community on Facebook, which we are fairly active in. And there's lots of helpful people who have been through this journey as well. And everybody's sharing ideas and how they build out their prompts. And if you find that you're getting issues with one of them, just paste it in, show a photo, and someone will point you in the right direction, I'm sure.
Awesome. Fresh made another question here. I don't know if I understood it well. If he wants a way to export the output directly to the WordPress website, or even like export the prompt to a website.
So at the moment, what we do is we provide the codes, we provide the curl code, or we provide the Python code, and then really it's a way for you to be able to build that yourself. With what we're trying to be doing with Riku being more of a back end than a front end tool, then what we want to do is empower you to be able to do that. So we have plans to produce a lot more content in more technical areas, such as how you can build how you can build a writing assistant app. We pretty much want to tutorial the whole
Mm-hmm.
thing to show you how it's done, and also with the sort of conversational UX that we're building, which is like the chatbot style, where we are going to have that so you can embed it on your own site or use it on your own subdomain. Doesn't necessarily have to be like a chatbot. You could have multiple fields, and you could have like a product description generator or whatever you want. So there's various ways to do it, and whilst we don't really have the tutorials or the documentation together right at this moment, it is all coming, and it's all part of our goal and our aim to sort of empower you and to give you everything that you need to use this within your business
Mm-hmm.
as easy as possible. So yeah, that's really what we want to try and do. It's all about empowering you and helping you to get the most out of this AI technology.
Mm-hmm. And he also made a question asking if Riku can handle generating code like JavaScript, and if it needs OpenAI
Yeah,
codecs for that.
yeah. So we have the codex models within Riku, so you can use the codex models if you want. A lot of the other models outside of OpenAI, whilst they aren't necessarily 100% trained for code, a lot of them do provide quite good outputs for code. So it's really good just to experiment and play around. I know the larger AI 21 model is pretty good for code. And that's really the power of what we're trying to do. Riku gives you the power to quickly switch out the model, hit generate, see if it works, see if it doesn't. If it does, great. If it doesn't, you might want to go for a more powerful model, and you can just sort of go up and down the scale based on that to see what model fits your needs, and it's very easy to do.
Mm-hmm. I would like to talk a little bit about the relation, the workflow. So, if someone is a writer,
Mm-hmm.
usually he or she knows how to write, and he wants to take advantage of the AI copywriting. So,
Mm-hmm.
like in the humane point of view, what he or she should do, have an outline first, try to write a bit by themselves, and then add it to the prompt. Is there a specific workflow that is better to work with the AI? So the amount of time that you will use typing, writing, the amount of time that I will use trying to tackle the AI to give me the perfect outputs.
Yeah. So I guess if I talk about sort of my own flows for building out content like this, what I tend to do is I tend to use like I tend to have a good idea, sort of grasp of what I like to write, and within Content Villain, when I'm building out longer sort of blog pieces, what I'll do is I usually have a title in mind. So I don't need AI to help me with a title. I will already know that, and from that, I'll be able to do a outline model and also an introduction model. So I will get my introduction together probably first, because it might give me some ideas about the outline as well. And then I will generate an outline. I will look at the outline and I will determine really what I think of it, maybe edit it if some parts of it aren't really up to standard. I will tweak it to the way that I like to write. And then what I will do with that outline is I will copy it to my clipboard. And within Content Villain, what we have is we have like a notepad, which is quite nice, which is away from the main document. So I will open up the notepad, stick the outline in there so it's out the way. I can pull it up if I want to look at it, but I have the main document for writing with the introduction in. And then I can take the first point from the outline, so the first section, and then I'll use the section generator to create some text for that. And from that, I will put that into the main document. So now we've got the blog introduction, we have the first section, and quite often there'll be times where I want to build on that main section. So I will start writing and fill in some of the gaps or some of the things that I want to mention that weren't picked up within the section generator model. And if I get stuck, I might hit the generate key, so the write for me key, to get some content. But most of the time, I'll just be writing myself. And I think this is one of the big misconceptions with AI writing tools. And I think it's important to sort of mention, using an AI writing tool, if you're a bad writer, you're still going to be a bad writer, unfortunately. If you're just looking to click a button and get a load of content, and you just want it to rank for Google, and you're looking to give it to robots to, I always find it funny because people are making content by robots to be looked at by robots, which then determine an algorithm ranking by other robots. So the whole purpose of writing is completely lost along the way. And if you want to do that and you're happy, you can do that. Fair enough. You're not going to get the best quality content, but it can work. You can do it. It's fine. But what I tend to find, what I'm doing when I'm trying to create content, I try and create a bit of quality, because I like to create something that I can actually look at, which provides a bit of value. I will use that. So I've got the introduction, I've got the section. I might have written half the section and had the AI generate the other half. And I tend to find that I'll be writing maybe 50% of the time. And whilst I am saving time using the AI, it's definitely helping me. It's helping keep me on track. There's still some input that you need to do. And I think where we are in the life cycle of AI, that won't go away for quite a while, because there's always going to be a need for specific sort of industry expertise and specific style. And when you read a blog or when you read content from someone, you can really sort of almost read it in their voice or their personality, and we don't want to lose that, right? So you want that to shine through regardless if you're using a writing tool or not. So being able to keep the main purpose of the writing, I think, is important, and you can only really do that by injecting your own keyboard written strokes at the time. So it's worth doing that.
So the human factor will always be there, is sort of thing.
Yeah, unless you are just happy in the fact that you are creating text and trying to rank on Google and don't really care about the output, which some people are happy with. And if you want to do that, go to ham with it. Go enjoy. But if you want to create more quality content, then I think the human factor is always going to be there if you're trying to create something that really connects and engages with other humans.
Yeah, I think the AI helps me to take off the anxiety, the writer block, and also helps me with the manual job to structure the phrase and the paragraphs. But I'm still there. I still need to cut the paragraph there is no relevant information for the article, and also I need to try to find the special sauce of each article, and like the main info that I need to write. And that's the human factor to always be there.
I think AI eventually will get there where it can sort of 100% replace a human, but in the current form and what I see coming within sort of the next 2 to 3 years anyway, with the developments and everything like that, unless you are really, if you're a professional writer and you've written thousands of articles and you create a fine tune based on your own work, then you could probably teach the AI to pick up your style and your way of writing. And then by using that model as sort of a write for me function to help you when you are writing yourself, it would probably give you quite good outputs. But who has a back catalogue of thousands of articles and the patience and time to compile it in a way to do that? Some people will, and get in touch. We'd love to be able to help you create that model. But for the average person, it's not going to be as easy as picking up a tool and having perfect article every time.
Perfect. And your final thought about the future of the AI copywriting, and if you have anything to say to people about Rico and Content Villain and the AI copywriting field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a super exciting time. Like I said, from where we were 1 year ago, with pretty much OpenAI having a monopoly on pretty much everything that was going on, to now having the choice of so many different large language models with multi-language coming and all of this incredible advances. It is super exciting. My thoughts are still the same. I would not be surprised in the future if pretty much every business in America had like a specialized AI expert on their team. Not necessarily just working on pumping out content all day, but I think really there are ways that AI can be used that a lot of people don't even realize, and you can plug them into different processes and different systems to help in so many ways, whether it be extracting patterns from text, solving regular expression stuff, creating emails or something on the fly. There's so many things, and it can save so much time that I think we're only really scratching the surface. And anyone who's really playing with these tools at this time is still super early in the process. And if you want to stay ahead, then it's worth learning the basics and getting the power to sort of create your own things. And that's really why we created Riku. And I just see that as an extension and another layer of where things were with the writing assistant tools. And in a way, there's that famous saying that you should always try and put yourself out of business. And whilst Content Villain is not going anywhere because it's a passion project and we're always going to be working on it, Riku really has the power that you don't need a writing assistant because you could build your own. And another fun saying from The Matrix is when Neo and Morpheus are talking, and Neo goes, "So you're telling me I can dodge bullets?" And Morpheus goes, "Well, when the time is ready, you won't need to." And that is pretty much it with AI. Learn the basics and you can be unstoppable.
That's awesome. Awesome. Stuart, thank you so much for your time. I learned a lot. Guys, just get Rico, I'll get mine. I'll try to learn the technical aspects as well. And I hope I can see you again. And just when you need something from us, just ask it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great. It's been fun. Really fun.
Thank you. Bye bye,
Bye.
guys.